So now, Tony Mai is next, our other lefty. He's a native Wichitan, a civic professional, and a folk musician with a mission to sustain positive connections and relationships with the community. With a background in suicide prevention, social work, and policy advocacy, Tony learns into an intersectional framework of storytelling and breaking barriers, excuse me, on what it means to be Asian American in the Midwest. Welcome, Tony.
Hello, my name is Tony Mai, and I'm a storyteller. My memories began as a child of Vietnamese immigrants. My parents came to the US at the tail end of the Vietnam War, hoping to find a beautiful bounty in which we can call home. Here are my parents, Duck, Tara, my older brother, my twin brother, Andrew, my younger sister, Pearline, and my grandma on my mother's side, Cam. From the outside looking in, we look like any other American family, perhaps because we are like any other Asian American family. This is my story, a story about indecisive identity. My brother and I, we both came out at a young age, and because of this, I began asking myself, who was I really? Who was Tony Mai when no one else was around? From the outside looking in, you may not realize the significant challenges as someone who doesn't fit in societal norms or cultural expectations like me. Tony Mai the twin, the artsy kid who was obsessed with making duct tape wallets and origami swans. Or was I Tony Mai, the grandson of a Black American soldier who died during the Vietnam War? The Vietnamese community said we were too dark, too coarse-haired to be truly Vietnamese. The Black community took one look at us and said we denied our African-American heritage. In grad school, I deepened my understanding of these nuances. Black, Asian, first generation, all-American cowboy. Who was I? Or what was I? People joke that stereotypes had some hidden hallmark of truth about them, but what was a stereotype for someone like me? Who I am before you today is carefully curated, a crafted conglomeration of confusion. I had no one to look up that looked like me, so I began to search. I shared my story, hoping to find those who saw me for me. Grad school did teach me new ways of looking at general grievances that I had gained from both ends of my racial identities. The racial traumas we saw in the US with white versus black, or the French colonial rule back in Vietnam. Then we had another confusing chapter called COVID. These were hard times highlighted by hateful headlines. I then turned inward, teetering between these two themes of love and pain, past and present, as above, so below. My name is Tony Mai, and all of my life, people have always told me what to do or who to be, because Asian people are very smart, but Asian men, they're not too sexy. You have to get a college education, a master's degree at that, or why don't you become a senator, because Asian people shouldn't be writing country music. Or why don't you start working out? You've always been skinny. Well, all you do is work out now. Why don't you just give yourself a break? I learned to stop submitting myself to what others saw in me, and I began to search in my soul for myself, because as they say again, as above, so below. Tony Mai, a magical musician. During a 3-year timeline in Texas, I began writing folk music. Pushing past my phobias of public perception, I found myself the protagonist of my lyrical fantasies. I didn't have to question myself anymore, or I shouldn't question singing about falling in love with a woman or falling in love with a man. I found there were other people like me who had the same conversations that I was having. It led me to understand what I truly valued. Because on one October day, I opened my phone to a phone call from my mom. My 5-foot grandma got hit while she was walking around our neighborhood. The culprit was a Vietnamese man texting while driving. I then gained closure to my confusion. I used to question, how could I honor my parents' sacrifices while I ran away from home to be a musician? I thought it was silly. I held on to shame and guilt until I remembered there was a reason for everything. There were barriers to break and stereotypes to shatter. My story did matter. I used to feel so alone. Was I Asian enough? Can I love Jesus if I came from a Buddhist household? Was my skin too dark? Does it look like I skip leg day? These questions were not for me to answer, but the question was how for me to live my life. This year, I judged the second annual Mr. Vietnam pageant show, and it reminded me that the work that I started 10 years ago did matter. My life mattered. What I didn't know was how long these stories took to unravel. It was like a slow burning song, a melody that crept way beyond my lifetime. The melodies I heard in others shined bright with a harmony, and I realized I was one chorus to a much larger symphony still unraveling throughout time. I had to push past these imaginary boundaries of the loneliness, the ego that I had created in my own mind. I sought ways to challenge myself, to be bigger, bolder, brighter. Because the barriers I chose to break, it was no longer about me, because one man is no man. I'm a part of a whole. My caramel skin, the intonation of my voice, my heritage, my experiences, they all led me to be here today. My name is Tony Mai, a storyteller, a musician, a friend, a lover, a dog dad, sometimes too much of a workaholic. But I'm here today, a story of Vietnamese immigrants. Thank you.